we thought it'd be really helpful at this time to support ourselves and our immunity and our wellness. And I'm joined by lovely Naomi Murray from Botanica Health in Rust Hall. Morning, Naomi.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. I love the story of your childhood. Because you often write about it on your website and in your Instagram page. So do you want to tell us a little bit about how you were brought up and what was the norm for you of your herbs drying on the Aga and all the rest of it? And just so we can put your knowledge in context of like your background and stuff.
Okay, so when I was one, my parents moved up from London to a place in the far north, very near John O'Groats. So you can imagine on the map how far away that is. And in my father's 40s, he trained as a medical herbalist. He did his 4-year degree. He'd always had a love of plants. And so I grew up surrounded by the beautiful Highlands of Scotland, where as a child, I really didn't like it, but we were forced out picking herbs and carrying big bags home where they'd dry on the Aga, or he'd make tonics and tinctures. And it was a very interesting childhood, and obviously we relied a lot on herbs if we became unwell, if we had fevers, eczema, all sorts of things. And I in turn became very fond of these amazing God-given plants that are around us everywhere for our use and at our disposal. And in the seasonal times, you know, they are there for our use. And it was a very interesting childhood. And then when I reached around 17, I started to work for my father in his dispensary. He had a herbal practice up in Scotland where he still works at 83 full time. In fact, he's busier now than ever. Yeah. And like me, he still has a great passion for plants and their healing properties. And as we know, more and more studies come out all of the time about the wonderful remedies that are surrounding all of us, and they're God-given, time-tested. They've been used for hundreds of years down the generations in all sorts of traditions all around the world.
Oh, and we need to build ourselves up during this time, don't we? I remember coming into your store last March time, just before I think we all went into lockdown, and said, oh, how do I, you know, what would you recommend, Naomi, at this time? What do I need to do to, you know, be in the best possible, you know, shape that to kind of prevent, you know, what's coming? And gosh, my little family have been on this little vitamin D and stuff. So what I think we both like is we like preventative stuff. We realise the value of prevention. We both love nature, but also then to empower people with knowledge to go on and make decisions for themselves and help themselves. And so what would you say at this time would be good for those of us who want to just build up our immunity? Yeah, what would you say first of all to build up immunity and for prevention of illness?
Well, I think we're all more susceptible to viruses at this time of year for various reasons. One very interesting point is you know, our grandmother would always say, you know, make sure you're wrapped up and warm for winter, because, you know, generally body temperatures are lower, and actually having a lower body temperature, and you can get that with having a thyroid issue as well, you're much more prone to pick up viruses. So even though I really hate masks, I have to make that quite clear for various reasons, they have a kind of a place now, or you could use a scarf, where when your nasal passages are colder, you are much more likely to pick up a virus, which is very interesting.
Oh, that is interesting.
And so it's very important to keep this area warm over your face. So masks right now can be useful because you're definitely going to be warmer under here. It's also very important to keep the throat and the neck warm, and the chest, head, where we lose most of our heat, as you know, and feet. So I think that's a very simple starting point. When it's cold, stay warm. And it's not an old wives' tale. It's very, very practical, interesting point. So to stay warm, first of all. Secondly, we need to keep eating nourishing foods that build immunity, that make you feel happy, that sometimes I feel that we ignore gut feelings. So go for the things that you feel you need right now. And of course, very interesting research has just come out about the importance of a healthy gut.
Gut health. I was going to speak to you about that, the 30 different plants that we're trying to aim for each week for good gut health.
And they've shown that your gut health determines the severity of a COVID outcome, which is very interesting. So, and it's very interesting because I guess that's not a very obvious thing, because you look at someone perhaps and think, well, you know, they've had COVID, but why? And there's nothing to look at, you know, that you could think, because obviously this is often very hidden. Maybe someone has got chronic constipation or poor digestion or not eating enough gut-friendly food. So gut-friendly foods would be to fill the diet with gut-friendly foods like leeks and onions and garlic, which would be your prebiotic foods, and then feed on things like kefir and yogurt and sauerkraut and kimchi. Maybe add a probiotic in there.
The fermented foods of kimchi and stuff like that, isn't it, to help gut?
To feed the gut, or you could have kefir, yogurt. Lots of people are using probiotics at the moment just to keep that gut balance right, because obviously during times of stress that we're all going through one way or another at the moment, stress hugely impacts your gut health. Breathing becomes shallow. You talked about breathing earlier with your other friend, but breathing becomes shallow, and so the stomach becomes very tight, and it becomes sort of, you know, all the blood flow leaves the gut and tries to help out the other organs because you're in fight or flight. So gut health is very important. A very brightly varicolored diet, and actually research shows you need about 20 different plants a day. Now that sounds unachievable, but it's not. If you think about this, you think about when you have spices, when you have basil, when you have coriander, when you have oregano on your food, when you eat a salad, when you have a piece of fruit, that all includes your plants. So actually throughout the day, it's quite easy. You can make yourself a big rainbow salad to have with your lunch.
And a sprinkling of seeds, and you can have 4 different types of seeds in your sprinkling, can't you?
There you go, because it seems, 20, I can't do that. But you actually can. I think it's very important to have vitamin D at this time of year. I mean, I was raging about this, you know, in April when they were banning people from sunbathing. I thought, come on, we need to build up in the spring so that we remain stronger during the autumn, because when you sunbathe, you build up vitamin D, which is actually a hormone. And there's so much research now to show that adequate levels of vitamin D definitely help prevent cold, flu, COVID. So, vitamin D right now, I think, is very important, especially for elderly people who perhaps don't see the sun so much, or they're inside very much. I mean, many of us will have been able to build vitamin D up during the summer months. And remember, back in April, the weather was amazing. And you do tend to be able to hold on to vitamin D for a few months, and then your levels start to decline. So vitamin D is probably the most important thing. And interestingly, sometimes people can have blood tests and they still haven't got their levels up, and that can be due to a lack of magnesium. So that's just something to keep in mind. So healthy diet to feed the gut, vitamin D, C and zinc, very important. Zinc, I would tend to take a supplement for that, but you do find zinc in pumpkin seeds and shellfish. Some people don't eat those. So a nice 15 milligram dosage of zinc every day. Vitamin C goes without saying. We know that we need vitamin C, so you can have that as a supplement. You could have lemon and hot water and honey every day. You can have oranges. You can have brightly colored fruits. So that's another. These are my three sort of preventative favorite vitamins at the moment would be D, C, and zinc. For sure.
Definitely. And what about, because I know that I've heard people say, oh, I don't need to take a supplement because I eat a varied diet. Why would you need the added stuff?
Right. Firstly, because of many people have got poor gut health. And so they may have low stomach acid, so you don't absorb your minerals and vitamins very well. It's very important to know that. Our soil quality isn't so good these days, so things from the earth, They just don't have the vitamins they used to do in the olden days. You only really know how your levels are if you have tests done, some blood tests done. But I think there's nothing wrong with supplementing with a lot of these things, especially over the winter months. But yes, generally gut health has a huge impact on how much we take on board. And
also, good gut health has an incredible effect on our mental well-being as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it does. And vice versa. I mean, there's the amazing vagus nerve, which I talk about from time to time. And it's the most, if anyone's listening to this and just wants to Google the vagus nerve, and you can Google this beautiful anatomical drawing that's been done. And basically it starts in the back of the brain here, and it travels down, and it basically caresses almost the organs as it comes down, and where it, at the end, these nerve endings gather around the belly and the gut, and it's huge amount if you look at the beautiful picture. And so what this is telling you is that the health of the gut influences everything else. And it's like a feedback system, brain to gut, brain to gut. It's also why if you have a sudden worrying thought, you may run to the toilet and have diarrhea, because it sends the signal down to the tummy.
Yes.
Yes, you're right. Often depression can be lifted through improving the gut.
Which is incredible, isn't it? Because when we are feeling sad or nervous or fearful, many of us will reach for the thing that is most harmful for our gut, which is high doses of sugar and, all of the, call it like the orange and brown food, like that comforting. I don't mean oranges in an orange or a satsuma. I just mean the beige kind of stuff that initially comforts, but actually is not very kind ultimately to us, is it? So so good gut health, some great immunity boosters. Water.
Yeah, water. And I think also in the winter it's quite nice to have warm drinks. I think they're easier on the stomach. They don't cool the body down if you have a cold drink. Drinking enough liquid is important because it's detoxifying the body.
Yeah.
Because walking is very important to get out every single day in early morning light.
Yes.
Which helps the body clock and helps you sleep better at night. And when we walk, we move, blood's flowing, we're getting rid of things, we're sweating a bit, hopefully.
Yeah.
And we're just keeping the body in this wonderful kind of rhythm of and flow. And the thing is, when you become stagnant and sit all day, you kind of can know that that's not good for you.
Absolutely.
We're meant to move. We're meant to move.
We really are. And I know that there'll be people in our, the older people of our congregation who are too afraid to go out, even for their fresh air, because I've certainly seen that the roads and the pavements are getting busier, and we've been walking our dog at like 6:30 in the morning to get up and to get out. We start in the dark and it gets light as we come out. But my lovely neighbour, who's been shielding for most of the year, she's been walking around her garden every day just to get out. So even if we're too scared to go out, or it might not be safe where people are to walk, if they don't have good walking where they are, just to get out in the fresh air, whether they're on a balcony or just outside, will even benefit them, won't it?
I think so, because I think we need to everyday touch base with the world in some way. Remember, like my father has said, all throughout this, we have an amazing God-given immune system.
Yeah.
And we have to respect our immune system, respect the fact that it's there to protect us, and that we have to try to remain faithful and feel that, there's so much we can do to look after ourselves.
Yeah.
And I believe that a walk in the fresh air is actually beneficial. And I feel we need to sort of be able to see other human beings and hear the birds and look at the sky and feel the fresh air on our face. And I think that has huge benefits. I really, really do, mentally and physically.
Oh, Naomi, those tips are really brilliant. So face covering for warmness, to keep our nose and our throat and our mouth warm. to get out into the fresh air, to drink some good liquid, some warm liquid at this stage, to build up our gut health through different types of plants, and to build our immunity through any supplements that we think that we need. Have I missed anything?
No, I don't think so. I think they're all very crucial and simple things that we can all adopt to make. And do you know what else I think about this? You know, we talk about the mask and social distancing, but I really believe that when you protect yourself with eating the right things, in turn, you're protecting someone else. When you have a robust immunity, we make a robust community. And I feel that we all, you know, in a sense, we need to do these things for ourselves and for others, and so that we become stronger through all of this and come out the other side healthy. And of course, these things benefit other things as well. It's not just COVID prevention. I mean, it's all sorts of things: inflammation, bone health, nervous system, the gut being healthy prevents all sorts of disease. And so this has far-reaching benefits.
It really does. Naomi, thank you so much for your time. It's always lovely to see you, and I'm going to put a link as to how people can find out more information and to follow your lovely website, and you write your lovely blogs as to your elements of gratitude, that you are constantly thanking God for creation and what he's given us and things to look out for. I know that I certainly made rosehip syrup and dandelion tea, dandelion honey, and all the rest of it, just encouraged by your gratitude and your little post. So thank you for who you are and everything that you do. And I'm so thankful that you're in our community. God bless you, Naomi.
Thank you.